Hi, my name is Jessica Curtis, and welcome to the first episode of State of the Art, the show that shines a light on the fine arts program here at Wichita State University. First, we'll check in with Associate Professor of Music Theory, Composition, and Technology, Mr. Aleks Sternfeld-Dunn. He recently composed a work that marries both music, civil rights, and technology.
Yeah, so it's a new work for clarinet and computer or saxophone and computer, and it's called 100 Years Later. And it was commissioned by a clarinetist at University of North Carolina, Greensboro, who's doing a whole CD of music for clarinet and electronics, and specifically this one program that I use called MAX-MSP. And the piece is sort of a political piece. Well, it's not sort of, it is a political piece. Well, the title comes from Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. So, everyone's really famous with the opening of that, I have a dream. But it's about the second or third paragraph down in the speech. He talks about sort of how far civil rights has come, but 100 years later, we still face this. 100 years later, we still face this. And yet, 60 years later from that speech, we still haven't managed to do this and this and this. So it's partly about that. It's also sort of speaks to a more recent rise of anti-Semitism in the United States. And I am half Jewish. My father's family is Jewish. So a lot of the material, music material, is all original, but it borrows from scales you would find in Jewish music. So it's sort of meant to be a statement about sort of civil rights, discourse, anti-Semitism, and how far we have to go still. There's sort of this pulsating bass line that happens through the whole thing. But what happens is that bass line very gradually over the span of 10 minutes glides up an octave. So it starts with dun 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 dun, but it does it over 10 minutes. So it's so slow and moves so subtly that you don't even realize it. But it is meant to create sort of this unease that you feel like something's not right, yet it feels very static. One of the things that the computer does for the saxophone or the clarinet is it will harmonize itself, and it does it in sometimes like very dissonant ways, or it will take a note in unison and then it will start to slowly bend that note to make it more out of tune. It takes two people generally. There's one person who performs the instrument, whether it's saxophone or clarinet. And then typically there's a second person who runs the computer. So that part's easy. If you know how to read music and know how to hit a space bar, you can play the computer part. Art has a responsibility to reflect what's going on in society. It's a way that voices that may not typically be heard can be heard. As someone who has some visibility in the art world, I wanted to take that opportunity to sort of shine those stories and make some statements about things that I think are problematic. And when you're debating politics one-on-one, that tends to be a conversation that goes past each other than towards each other. But when you're faced with a piece of art that deals with some sort of issue or topic, you have to sort of deal with it, even if you're going to reject it. But they're forced to actually have to think about it before they can reject it. Whereas if you're just having a conversation about it, you can sort of tune it out and have your talking points ready to go. So I think art can be this really powerful tool in engaging conversations about those things.
The CD project that will include Sternfeld-Dunn's piece is set to be released in late 2019. To find more of Sternfeld-Dunn's music and video works, check out his channel on YouTube. Next, we'll shine a light on WSU senior Lance McDougall, who recently made his directing debut with the romantic comedy I Love You Because, a modern-day twist on Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice.
In the show, there's a picture frame that has his picture in it from the scene. That's great. Wouldn't have to go, then you wouldn't have to exit. So I would say try that. I Love You Because is set in modern day New York City, and it is basically, it centers on modern relationships today and how we search for love. And the ultimate message in the show is that it's really easy to say, I love you anyways, I love you in spite of your faults, but it's so much harder and so much more rewarding to say, I love you because of them, to learn to love people because they're different, because they push you to be more than you thought you could be. We have a mix of faculty and student designers. So we have a student costume designer, we have a student sound designer, a student lighting designer, and then one of our faculty is doing props for the show, and then we have a faculty member doing the set. So the process for student-directed work at WSU is they do 2 student-directed shows a year, and they do one that's their original work, but I actually submitted a proposal to direct. I combed through so many different shows before I found this weird little show that was this cute little musical that I initially wasn't totally sure about. I researched it a lot, and it was, some people compared it to How I Met Your Mother and kind of fun sitcoms like that. And it deals with finding love today, and I think that's something that everybody as a generation is kind of figuring out how to find each other in a world where we're isolated even though we're so connected. And in the show, they use JDate, which is a Jewish dating service site, as kind of the representative for online connections and dating. As the student director, you go through a process that's longer than a year, because I had to submit my proposal before December 1st. So it's been a really long process, but it's been a really, really cool process, and it's really been amazing to work with all of these incredible students who have like such amazing ideas. I mean, it's just really fun to say, this is kind of what I'm thinking, and they just bring in these really, really comprehensive ideas that bring those concepts to life. I think it's really important because it opens up a lot of opportunities for us as students, and not just in directing. I mean, it was really cool for me to figure out how to choose a show. It's just been really eye-opening to have all these new experiences that I wouldn't get from just being in shows or assistant directing, where I can try things out. And I think it's really important to let us kind of explore before we get out in the world that opportunity. I think it's really important to branch out and try new things, which is one of the reasons, one of the cool things about WSU's theater program, School of Performing Arts, is that you really get to try a bunch of different things. Because I'm not majoring in directing. I'm getting my degree in musical theater, but being able to say, hey, I'm interested in this, can I try this? And like having the faculty support me and allow me to really like create something is really, really great. And so it's just been really special to get to spend this experience with the actors that I have. I think it's going to be a really, really amazing show that is really important, and I'm really glad that WSU is producing it.
McDougall says he plans to continue directing. This summer, he'll be assistant directing a children's show in New York, as well as in his hometown, Dallas, Texas. Well, that'll do it for this episode of State of the Art, but before we let you go, here's a few upcoming events for the College of Fine Arts. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.